Okay, here we are in Christian podcast. So if you are a mom or a faith-based entrepreneur or a work at home mom, you're just trying to fill the time and the gaps with something productive, then podcasting might be something that you're already doing or you might want to start adding to your routine. So let's dive right in. What is a Christian podcast? Podcasts are radio shows, but they're being hosted or served on the internet. And so you have like iTunes, Stitcher. I use Google Podcasts myself, Spotify, and there's several more. But you have to download an app on your phone or on an Alexa or on some type of platform screen device, and you listen to them. You throw on some AirPods or you throw it onto the Alexa on the microphone, and you can start listening to them. But the difference between like Christian podcasts versus just business podcasts or combining the two is, how do you know that the person who's given you business principles is also very biblically based? And so these are podcasts that I have found over time. Some I just started listening to, some I have been listening to, but if the name isn't explicit in the title, I know for a fact that the person themselves who's presenting the material is a Christian or a faith-based driven entrepreneur. And so here are the top 3 that I listen to pretty regularly, and I'll explain why. So Brooke Jefferson is a newer podcast to me, and she is a Christian photographer who is intertwining faith into photography businesses for the fellow photographer. And I found her recently, I'd probably say about a month ago, and not even. And I have consumed lots of her content as a fellow photographer, trying to make sure that the Lord stays first in my photography business. I have another one later on in this, and I can tell you another Christian photographer who's running her business through podcasting and products and services. But if you're looking for wholesome, faith-based podcasts for photographers, this is it. The love offering isn't really a business one as much as just encouragement in living fully and living faithfully, loving fully. But it's stories of women who have placed their faith in God in their lives. And so, for example, one that I just listened to the other day by Rachel was an interview with Mary Morantz, who again is another photographer who has decided to share more of her faith in her business and actually has stopped doing photography and is going full-fledged into mentoring and coaching and writing books and sharing her faith. And so what you're going to find there is a lot of interviews with women who love Jesus and how they're intertwining the gospel into whatever they're doing. And so this is more of an encouragement to moms and to women. Think Media. Now, again, this is one where they're not explicitly saying they're a faith-based or faith-based driven business in the title, but they are. Sean Kinnell is started his career in the church ministry environment and then got really all in YouTube. He brought on Heather Torres, and Heather Torres is also a Christian, and they sprinkle it throughout. And you can tell by the integrity that they have on their podcast that it is something that is worth looking into and listening to, especially if you're trying to go on YouTube full time, such as myself, and it's worth listening to and also checking out their YouTube channels. So here are some honorable mentions. Now, She Works His Way. I was a member of their group for so long and still recommend it to so many people when I first started doing anything online, doing the photography, trying to do YouTube, and they really helped my focus stay on the priorities that mattered, and that's as a woman entrepreneur, making sure that God comes first, then my family, and then the ministry. And the ministry is anything that you do with your hands, whether it's a stay-at-home mom, full-time, work-at-home mom, or you're in the secular business world, a teacher, a banker, a nurse, whatever it may be. So it's worth looking into as a podcast, and then stepping a little bit further into maybe their community and the resources they have is definitely worth it. The Dave Ramsey show, or the Ramsey show, he is a Christian, but so much money and wealth leadership, explaining how to use the envelope systems and just how to get out of debt. Really worth listening to. The Carey Nieuwhof Leadership Podcast is a new one. I've only listened to one episode, but I have heard about his book and heard him interviewed on the Think Media podcast. And again, worth listening to if you're looking to upgrade your leadership. Maybe you already have an agency or a team in your online, or you're even in a secular brick and mortar business. It's worth listening to. Now, here are three more. This is the other Christian photographer that I've been following, Rebecca Rice. She has really made leaps and gains since when I first started following her, and she's just really implementing and has, proof in the pudding of what she's teaching. She is doing and implementing, and it's awesome. Great money mindset for photographers if you want to check her out. Business Made Simple with Donald Miller. He's the one that wrote The Brand Story. And if you want to get into more marketing and copywriting and understanding how to write captivating copy, get his books and listen to the podcast. I have both of his books. I'm in the process of reading, and the podcast itself is only going to help you dive deeper into writing better copy for your website, for whatever it is that you're doing online. And then Risen Motherhood. Again, this is another encouragement as a woman, staying centered in the gospel as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, or just as a woman. But as you can tell, this is geared more towards moms. It's Risen Motherhood. And I've been listening to this one for quite a while, over a sink of dirty dishes. So if you've listened to them, you know what that means. So I really encourage moms to find a podcast that's going to speak to them and speak to their heart and to the gospel message. Now, what if you want to start your own podcast? I just thought I'd throw out a few tools that you might want to do. You need a microphone. So this right here is a simple little microphone from Walmart. It's about $25. And I use it for all my Zoom calls and interviews that I do. And you can get it on walmart.com. Then you need a little pop filter. Obviously, I don't have one on mine, but it's one of those next things that I need to get. But I'm very budget friendly, and I don't recommend spending all your money at once. And then headphones, if you need to cancel out noise, you have kids in the background and you're doing an interview on Zoom, it'd be really good to have some headphones to help you with that. I hope that you found this helpful. And if you decide to follow any of these podcasts, let me know in the comments below which one that you're going to start following today.